Welcome back to our summer Bible study on the book of Philippians. We're now entering into chapter 3. So Paul has talked about those who live the example that points to Christ. Now, Paul has not always lived in a harmonious relationship with everybody else. And there have been other Christians who have caused Paul trouble. We've encountered a little bit of that early in the letter, but now we're going to hit some of that head on. And so we're going to pick up with chapter 3, verse 1, where Paul writes, "To write these same things to you is not troublesome for me, and for you it is a safeguard. Beware of the dogs, beware of the evildoers, beware of those who mutilate the flesh. For it is we who are the circumcision, and worship in the Spirit of God, and boast in Christ Jesus, and have no confidence in the flesh. Even though I too have reason for confidence in the flesh." So we know from Paul's other letters that he has had conflict with those coming into his church and telling his community that they need to adopt the practices of the Jewish people. You know, that means circumcision. That means adopting the dietary practices. It means adopting certain calendar things. And there were a lot of, and this was a point of debate in the early church, but Paul is arguing strongly for his churches that are Gentile, that they are to focus in on Christ and to focus really in on this way of life that is following that example. And so he's giving this warning. Now, we don't know that this group has come to the church in Philippi, but we do know, again, from Galatians and other churches, that they did come there, and it did cause problems there. And so perhaps this is just a warning that Paul is giving them to beware of a group that might come in. And again, they cause dissension, and they focus in on these very specific marks of faithfulness. And again, one of them being circumcision. That's where it's talking about those who mutilate the flesh. It is focusing in on kind of the ritual instead of the life. And again, this is Paul struggling to try and have this church follow the example of people like him, like Timothy, like Epaphroditus, and ultimately those who model what Christ is like. And it's not that these other things are bad, but if they take us away from what Christ is, or if they point us away from Christ, then they are distractions. Then they are things that can divide us. And so for Paul, it's a matter of what is central, what's important, what matters the most. And that's following Christ. And all these other things that other people might want to make central, they can be good, but they're not central. They can be something that has been life-giving or meaningful to somebody, but they're not central. And what's central is this self-giving love that we come to know in Jesus Christ. And that's worth more than anything else. I'll see you tomorrow as we continue with Paul's discussions with his church that he loves and pointing back to himself and how he's come to understand this in his life. So I'll share more with you tomorrow from chapter 3.